Hi class, and welcome to this video for VCE Year 12 Economics, which is going to cover the topics in Unit 3 Outcome 1 of the price elasticity of supply. And that is your key knowledge points 9 and 11 in that outcome. What do I hope that you achieve from this video? That you understand the meaning and the importance of what we call the price elasticity of supply. And you can see we have demand here as well. There is a previous video where I go through what the price elasticity of demand is. We're also going to consider the factors that influence the price elasticity of supply, in particular spare capacity, production period, and the durability of goods. And you can see this is part of Outcome 1 Unit 3, and we are at the key knowledge points 9 and 11, and anything above this in this study design, it will assume that you have watched the video or have an understanding of those, in particular concepts of demand and supply, and in particular supply, which we're going to be talking about here. But I recognize that we need to do a recap. Let's have a quick recap of what I mean by the law of supply and the supply curve. When I talk about supply, we are talking about a representation of how much a producer or a seller is willing and able to supply at the different prices. So how much are they willing and able to supply of their product at different prices? And there is a law of supply, that there is a direct relationship between the price and quantity supplied. But to put it simply, as the price increases, the quantity supplied, the amount that producers are willing and able to supply, will increase. And as the price decreases, the quantity supplied will decrease. This is because suppliers have a profit motive and they are trying to maximize their profit. And as price increases, likely the profit they will make will increase, so they're prepared to supply more of it. The supply curve looks like so, because as price keeps rising, so too does the amount that the supplier is willing to supply. When we have movements along this supply curve, for example, if price decreases, the supply curve will move to the left, and you can see we are reducing the amount that we're prepared to supply, and we call this a contraction of supply. As price increases, the supply moves right along the supply curve. We have an expansion of supply because we are willing to supply more, or due to this powerful motive, the profit motive. So what do I mean by the price elasticity of supply? And there probably will be one or two typos here when I've copied the slides over. Economists are interested in how much supply changes following a change in price. That is what we mean by the elasticity. So the price elasticity of supply refers to how responsive the amount supplied, quantity supplied, of a good or service is to a change in the price of a good or service. There is a formula, percentage change in quantity supplied, a percentage change in price. And I went through an example in our demand video, so I'm not going to do it here. But it's important in your exam or SAC, or just in your understanding when asked about elasticity, that you mention the word responsive or responsiveness. Your answer won't be complete otherwise. But essentially, to summarize, the price elasticity of supply is thinking about how responsive or how big a change in the amount supplied by producers is going to be due to the price change in the goods or service. Is there going to be a big change in the amount supplied due to changes in price, or a small one? And what are the factors that influence it? And we are going to focus on two ways we can categorize it: high price elasticity of supply. This is when your price elasticity of supply number is greater than 1. and low price elasticity of supply. This is when your price elasticity of supply is less than 1. When we have a high price elasticity of supply, we are going to say that it is elastic. And as I mentioned, this occurs when it is greater than 1. If the price elasticity of supply is greater than 1, it is elastic, and this means a change in price will lead to a relatively larger change in quantity supplied. So this means the larger the value of PES, the more elastic, the more responsive supply is to changes in price. So if the price of a product rises, if it is elastic, it will attract a bigger percentage increase in supply. If the price of the product drops, it will attract a bigger percentage decrease in supply. This is represented by a relatively flat supply curve. This means that suppliers are willing and able to increase their supply by a bigger percentage than the price increase. So if we look at it here, let's pick 2 points in this. You can see that there has been a price change of that magnitude. It has gone from P1 to P2. And it's quite small. But if you look at the quantity supplied, Q1 to Q2, this price increases had a much bigger amount of quantity demand supplied change than price exchange. The price increase has been led to a high level of responsiveness to an increase in supply. This is different to a low price elasticity of supply curve, which we would say is inelastic, and this is for goods and services where the PES is less than 1. If PES is less than 1, the supply is inelastic. This means a change in price will lead to a relatively smaller change in quantity supplied. The lower the value, the less elastic, or the more inelastic, so less responsive supply is to changes in price. So if the price of the product rises, it will attract a lower percentage increase in supply, and if the price of the product drops, it will attract a lower percentage decrease in supply. This is represented by a relatively steep supply curve because suppliers are not willing and able to increase supply by a bigger percentage than the price increase. And an example of this before we have a look at this curve is avocados. As despite if there's increases in demand or price, farmers are not going to be able to massively increase how much they're going to supply of avocados because it takes a long time to grow them. It takes 4 years to fruit. So avocados are very inelastic because while the price might go up, it's not simple to increase the supply. So let's have a look at this. Why is it such a steep supply curve? Because even with significant price changes, going from P1 to P2, a big price change, you can see that the quantity demanded, or quantity supplied, increase is smaller because it is not as responsive. Now, what are the factors that affect price elasticity of supply? Why are some elastic and some inelastic? We're going to go through the factors of spare capacity, production period, and the durability of goods. Spare capacity is all about how much does a business have in terms of spare capacity or idle labour. How much does it have in its business? What is their capability or capacity to increase production? Now, if a business has spare capacity, it is going to be more able to respond to the changing prices more effectively. It's going to be more responsive. This will lead to a higher price elasticity of supply. So, for example, if there is spare capacity and the price goes up, they are going to be able to significantly increase their quantity supply because they can use their capacity. Now, if suppliers who are operating at capacity or have a shortage, this is going to be hard for them to do. So, if this is also true, where price elasticity will be high or elastic, if for an industry, if there is unemployment or unused machines. So if a business or an industry can get more labor from unemployment, they'll be able to ramp up their quantity supplied because of price increases, and hence they will have higher price elasticity of supply. In contrast, industries running at capacity, or if there are skill shortages, this will make them hard to attract labor, and the price elasticity will be low because it will be difficult for them to increase their quantity supplied as a result of price increases. Now, this is quite a short-term consideration. In long term, we recognize the price elasticity of supply due to capacity can change over time as firms and industries, particularly if prices are increasing, will look to increase their productivity capacity through investment and training in new labour. Governments might even intervene to assist, but that is more a short-term play. So we recognise that sometimes industries and businesses that started off being inelastic because of no capacity will do investment and look to ways in the long term to increase their capacity to become more elastic and take advantages of price increases. Now, the production period is also important, and this is relevant to, for example, avocados. We understand that increasing prices send a signal to suppliers that higher profits can be made. And this will lead to a higher allocation of resources to the production. Now, if shifting resources or the actual amount of time it takes to produce the product is high or time consuming, the price elasticity will be low, growing avocados, because it will be difficult for them to take advantages of price increases by increasing their quantity supplied by more, because they just don't have the ability to do it quickly because of the production period. If shifting resources is easily done, not time consuming, price elasticity will be high, it'll be elastic, like the production of electronic copies of music, it's really simple to do. They will be more responsive to increases in price or changes in price. This factor highlights the importance of time, short-term and long-term. For example, a farmer might want to respond to changes in price for products, going from beef to lamb, but they need to make a massive change and be confident that these price differences are constant. So price elasticity of supply can really be impacted by time. The final one is durability of goods. The durability of goods is all about whether the goods can be stored and are durable. It is much easier to respond to changes in prices for durable goods, as suppliers can just have lots of excess stock that they look after. In this case, they will be able to increase the supply in the market because they already have it on hand if it's durable, so they will be able to increase the supply due to price increases, and price elasticity will be high if the goods are durable. This isn't always a good idea though, even for durable goods, because having lots of excess inventory has lots of costs, which will influence the ability for a business to make profit. Non-durable products like fruit or milk, which only have a short shelf life, will often have a more inelastic supply because you can't just keep and store excess stock waiting for a price to increase. And guys, I hope that has helped you with your factors that affect price elasticity of supply, spare capacity, production period, and the durability of goods. And let's recap. Hopefully you're leaving this video understanding what we mean by price elasticity of supply and why it's important. How responsive is the amount supplied by producers? How responsive is it to changes in price? And the factors that influence it. And I hope that's built your understanding of microeconomics, and in particular, your understanding of Unit 3, Outcome 1 economics.